You're listening to Kentucky Running, presented by John's Run Walk Shop in Lexington. Help others find this show by rating, reviewing, and subscribing in your podcast app. This episode is sponsored by Curex Insoles.
Hey runners, Matt Reno here from John's Run Walk Shop, and last week I ran the Kentucky Derby Festival mini marathon in Louisville. Love that race. It's a good course, good crowd support. I was really happy with my time, but I know I could have gone a little faster had I not been feeling a little tightness in my right hip. Now, I'm fine, it wasn't an injury. It was just a spot that I had been neglecting in my stretching, and it was coming back to haunt me on race day. And as I was pushing through that pain, I remember thinking, I should probably start doing yoga. I had recently recorded today's interview, and now it was definitely on my mind. It's one of those things I know would be beneficial to me as a runner, but for whatever reason, I just haven't done much of it. So today's interview might finally get me into the practice. I'm talking with Cara Meade, owner of Creative Yoga in Lexington, about the many benefits yoga can have for runners. So listen to this interview, take Cara's advice so that you're not like me regretting it at mile 10 of a half marathon. Before we get to that, let's check in with our Brooks guru, Connor, for some quick details on an update to a Brooks staple. We're talking Ghost 17. At the time of this recording, it is April 24th, and we have a Brooks demo going on in the store right now. So I'm trying on the brand new Ghost 17 for the first time, and I gotta say, very comfortable. But let's get some details on this new shoe from Connor Naughton. He is our Brooks guru. So Connor, give us a lowdown on the new Ghost.
Super excited to have the new Ghost, and John's kicking us off for it, getting it a little early, so really excited about that. Big updates on the new Ghost I'm really excited about is just more cushions. You're getting 3 extra millimeters up in that forefoot, 1 in that heel, so you're going to get that more cushion, smooth ride compared to that lower to the ground firm feel you had in previous models. Everyone knows Brooks for the Ghost and Adrenaline, so a big overhaul on the Ghost isn't something that you always see. So this is a pretty big aesthetic change and feel change, but I've gotten to run it a little bit. I know plenty of people that have, and I think in the market right now, what people are looking for, I think this is going to be a beast and be the shoe of the summer.
Of course, the most important thing about any shoe is color. So I've got to say, I'm really liking the color of the shoes that are on my feet right now. It's this mostly blue, but it's got a touch of gold and a little bit of lighter blue on it. So can you tell us about some of the other colorways?
Absolutely. We've actually been really intentional with the Ghost colors. You get some of these cool grays with this touch of color on that midsole, which is awesome. Another big aesthetic update just for that Ghost 17, going away from that bubbling look you see from DNA Loft V3, which is in a lot of our shoes. It's going to these more dynamic, fast lines, so it just looks like one of those faster shoes on the wall, which is changing that profile for the Ghost. It's definitely going to be that shoe that people walk up to on the wall or grabbing and want to try on, which is different than versions in the past.
Okay, and if you weren't here in April for the sneak preview demo run, it is on our shelves right now. So come to John's Run Walk Shop in Chevy Chase or Palomar Center and try on the Ghost 17. My guest today is Cara Meade, longtime yoga practitioner and instructor. Cara owns Creative Yoga, which has been voted a top yoga studio in Lexington, Kentucky. Today, we're going to talk yoga for runners, how it can benefit you in your running practice. Cara, welcome to the Kentucky Running Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Matt. I'm so happy to be with you.
I will admit, I'm a runner, but I'm not too much into yoga, so maybe this conversation will finally convince me.
I hope so.
Let's start by having you talk a bit about your journey with yoga, what led you to open Creative Yoga here in Lexington.
Well, my first yoga class was about 35 years ago. I took yoga in part of a dance program I was in and really fell in love with it and practiced from then on. One day, I just realized I wanted to open a yoga studio. It was a dream, and I just kept feeding the dream. I got a bunch of different kinds of yoga trainings and certifications and just kept up with the daily practice. And 10 years ago, opened Creative Yoga. It's been wonderful. I was able to teach and learn so much at the yoga studio I was at before this in Louisville, Kentucky. And the woman who owned it had been a yoga studio owner for decades and really took me under her wing and taught me everything that she felt like I needed to know to be successful as a yoga studio owner and yoga practitioner. So I'm grateful to her. I just think yoga is one of the keys to life. It actually helps you do whatever it is that you do better. So whether you're an opera singer, if you're into physical fitness, if you're a runner, if you stand all day, if you sit all day, if you fish, surf, whatever it is that makes your life, yoga will help you make it that much better. And really, it's the key to longevity, I think.
Going into those benefits, let's talk about
Mhm.
specifically what we're here to talk about today is yoga for runners.
Mhm.
What initially sparked your interest in exploring the connection between these two seemingly different disciplines?
So you said that you're not much of a yoga practitioner. I'm not much of a runner. So I think it's a wonderful
Okay.
time for us to talk back and forth about it. However, I do have a lot of runners that come to yoga and, they're into fitness and exercise, and the style of yoga we have at Creative Yoga, the vinyasa really works well with that. I think it helps people kind of get into that level of fitness that they seek while running. But what I've noticed is tight hip flexors, tight hamstrings, Achilles, even mobility of the upper body. So I see yoga really helping runners with those key body parts to really help their run. The stretching that they get out of yoga is so helpful for those areas that they really don't get to stretch during a run, that actually gets maybe really worked and could be a case for injury over long term. Tight hips, hamstrings, calves, these are major contributors to runners' injuries I've seen. And yoga really helps increase with flexibility, which helps reduce imbalance when you run and kind of gives you a better stride. Of course, I think the yoga stretches and the poses that we do really improves range of motion and the oxygen and nutrients that we build in the body during a yoga session helps with recovery. And then, of course, my favorite part probably is the mental edge that yoga could give runners. Just training for that steady breath and mindfulness, which helps, I think, in pacing and doing races, and particularly having that mindfulness, purposeful, intentional focus, whether it's for footfall, pace, breath. Yoga will help you practice that.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little further. The
Sure.
mental benefits
Yeah.
of it. Have you
Mhm.
worked with people who have experienced improvement because of mindfulness in their running?
Absolutely. We have a special podcast that we do that helps talk about a meditation for runners. And it's just a mindfulness meditation. And mindfulness, it's a buzzword, but really it just means paying attention. And so
Mhm.
while runners might think, okay, I just have to run to that next mailbox or the next stop sign and use that kind of mental game, this really helps focus on what's happening. So maybe it's counting the footfalls and finding that rhythm,
Mhm.
counting the inhales, the exhales, and you can really practice that in meditation. And I understand from runners who are long distance runners that mindfulness really helps them. And before they know it, 1 mile is turned into 2, which is turned into 3, which is turned into 4. Or if you're just starting out running, right? 1 mailbox to 2 to 3 down the block. So the meditation and breath work that we teach in every class at Creative Yoga really helps runners understand that connection between mindfulness, breath, and movement.
What about injury prevention? How can yoga help runners prevent things like hamstring strains, IT band issues, plantar fasciitis?
Yeah, all the good ones. So, from the runners I know, they all lament, yeah, I should stretch more, but I don't. And so I think,
Yep, we all do it.
is that true? Yeah. And
Oh, yeah,
then I have
absolutely.
some people that say, oh no, I always stretch before my run. But
Mhm.
really, they could stretch after their run as well. So, learning some of the poses that we do in yoga will really help balance that for, again, recovery and to prevent stress that you haven't stretched out. And there goes your hamstring, they're tight, you pulled your Achilles. or just the constant wear on the hip flexors is key. So I think preventing injury is what yoga can do really well. And what it can also do really well is help you come back from an injury. And I think
Hmm.
for all of us over the age of 15 who practice physical activity, injury is, always out there. It's something that we need to think about. I recently, in the last 6 months, broke my collarbone in a different event, and yoga has really helped me gain back range of motion faster than any sort of PT. And so when I get to physical therapy, they're always like, "Oh, you're good. We're going to work on this now," because I
Hmm.
have that range of motion from yoga. So I think it's really the best thing that a runner could do outside of the running world is a yoga class to help really develop that mindfulness, meditation, and range of motion in their body.
Stretching is definitely something we all know we should do more and just
Yeah.
don't. We want to pack the time we have on running for actual running,
Running.
when really we need to
Yeah.
we need to carve out some time for those non-running things that make the running better, make those injury recovery periods shorter. Are there any specific
Mhm.
poses or sequences particularly beneficial for injury prevention?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. I'll give you just a handful of poses here that anyone could do. You don't need any kind of yoga experience to practice these on your own. I think the best one is low lunge. And so that's just a
Hmm.
lunge, whether if you put your right knee forward and the knee is 90 degrees bent over the right ankle, the left leg can be extended behind you or even bent resting on the mat. That's a
Hmm.
great one just to do for hip flexors and just hold that for 5 to 8 breaths, just in and out, and then do the other side. Pigeon pose, that's a great one where your front leg is bent 90 degrees and you're seated with the left leg would be then long behind you. That sometimes is a little challenging for my runners. And so we do it on the back for them, where you lie on your back and you would just cross like the right ankle over the left knee and kind of hold on to the left leg. And so as you're drawing that left knee into the left shoulder area, you can use your right arm to press out the right leg. So you're making this kind of figure four shape on your back, and you're really able to kind of get into the hips and hamstrings as well. So that again, 10 counts, just really nice and easy, long, every inhale kind of drawing it in and every exhale kind of pressing it away. Downward dog, I mean, it's a yoga practitioner's best friend, but that really
Hmm.
is great for hamstrings and Achilles. And it doesn't have to be a static pose, but just getting into down dog so you're on your hands and feet, making an upside down V with the body. And you can just bend the knees, kind of paddle the feet one at a time. And that really kind of helps get into the hamstrings. I've got two more for you.
Okay.
Ragdoll pose, which is great. It's just bending at the waist and taking hold of opposite elbows and
Hmm.
swaying side to side.
Hmm.
Moving side to side from the waist kind of helps that when you think about the torque of the rib cage during running and
Hmm.
the core work. The last one is my favorite. It's legs up the wall. And that pose
Hmm.
is exactly what it sounds like. You just get close to the wall. Maybe you can even do it in bed and take your body close to the headboard and put your legs up the wall and just relax. And so that is such a great recovery pose for circulation that works for runners. If you've stood all day, if you've been on an airplane, it just really helps get everything back where it needs to be, all the lactic acid and all of that circulation going where it needs to go. So that's a great one for recovery. And I would just hang out there maybe 5 minutes. For me, over 5 minutes, I start to get the tingly sensation in my feet, and
Yeah.
it's had its moment. But that's one of the best ones too. So low lunge, pigeon pose, down dog, ragdoll, legs up the wall. I think any of those, and you could do all of those poses in a 15-minute period. So it doesn't have to be
Okay.
this big thing.
Yeah, it's not a
We've
huge
partnered.
extra time commitment.
Right. We've partnered together. If you want a little bit more,
Mhm.
we've been great partners and friends with John's Run Walk Shop for years. And love when the runners come and join us. We have intro yoga classes, the more fast-paced ones, and then we just started a yoga stretch class where no yoga is necessary. It's just for stretching on Sunday evenings. And I think that alone would be fantastic for the runners, the mostly seated poses. And so just kind of getting into all those good spots, hamstrings, hip flexors.
I want to take a quick break to tell you about Kentucky running sponsor CureX insoles, available at John's Run Walk Shop. Whether you're looking for more cushion or arch support when you're running, or just going through your day-to-day activities, CureX Run Pro insoles could be the solution you need. They offer flexible support and shock-absorbing cushioning from heel to toe, helping reduce fatigue, preventing common running injuries, and boosting performance. Dynamic arch support with a deep decoupled heel cup fits, wraps, and locks the heel in place to improve stability, reduce pressure, and provide a perfect fit. CureX Run Pro insoles feature a zero heel drop, providing the best fit in most running shoes with optimized motion for all running foot strikes. And they help manage moisture with a mesh top layer and premium foam cushioning to keep your feet dry and your running shoes fresh. They come in 3 profiles, high, medium, and low, to fit your individual arch type. Next time you're in John's Run Walk Shop, ask us to check out your arches and knee alignment so we can help you find the right pair of CureX Run Pro insoles for you. Learn more at johnsrunwalkshop.com/insoles. Some people who are just starting with yoga might be a little intimidated. They might think they'll look foolish if they can't fully do a stretch, or they might fall over or something. But you do have classes for beginners where you can feel free to not be a yoga superstar.
Oh, right. One of the best myths about yoga is that you have to be flexible to practice it. But really, yoga builds flexibility. It would be like saying, I can't run because I can't sprint. I can't run fast. Who cares? You can run still, right? So it's the same thing. Yoga's really for everyone. We love our runners. I think they're such a great group. And actually, we have one of our teachers came to us as a runner, and she wanted to learn about ways to improve her running for a big marathon she was training for, fell in love with yoga, went and got yoga teacher training, and now she's teaching yoga as well for us.
That's great. Any other common misconceptions about yoga that could deter runners from trying it? How would you address those concerns?
Yeah, I think that you just have to try it. I mean, I think runners or anybody who have misconceptions about yoga really should just show up. I think the benefits of taking a yoga class is just a community experience, and running, can be a solitary experience, but there's running clubs that I know that you all put together that's really nice. A yoga class is somewhat like that. You're doing your own practice in a group of people we're all there for the same reason, to sweat, to move, to breathe, to try to keep these, bodies that we've been given up and doing what we love to do. So I think that people would find the community is very welcoming and appreciative, and there's really no such thing as a beginner. At yoga, we try to meet you where you are, and you get to go where your journey is.
And that's a lot like it is with our run club. All
Absolutely.
paces, all ages are welcome. I like to say, if you run, you're a runner. Doesn't matter how fast, doesn't matter if you've done a marathon or never gone more than a mile. If you're running, you're a runner. Yeah. So good to hear that there's that same community in yoga as there is in running.
That community. I mean, I think currently I've seen all of this science and reports coming out on wellness that community is such important aspect of health and fitness and aging in a graceful, healthy way is having a community. And so I think that your run clubs and the races and things that you put on, as well as, a yoga class, is such an integral key to that sort of gets overlooked. That, you can stretch at home before you go, and that's great. But there's also a whole community of people who want to stretch with you.
We're pack animals. No need to deny that.
Exactly.
Should the type of yoga practice you're doing change depending on where you are in your training cycle? So, for example, if you're building a base versus if you're getting close to a race and trying to build that speed as you get closer, should your stretching change?
From a yoga perspective, I cannot speak on what runners would say, so feel free to chime in if you think otherwise. From a yoga perspective, I think your yoga practice changes every day because we change every day.
Okay.
And part of yoga is getting to know ourselves intuitively and getting to know our bodies really understanding, where am I today? Do I need to push myself, or do I really need to give myself a break and do, more light stretching? Or I don't have to go full out all the time. Maybe to go the distance is to not go full out immediately, but to, learn that sense of pace and knowingness within ourselves. So I think it would be very specific to the individual, what they need. But I would encourage them to put on a yoga cap of mindset and say, what do I need today to prepare for my race? Do I really need a vigorous yoga practice, or do I need to go to the light stretching class?
And that makes a lot of sense.
I know when people are training for a race, they have these, this is my long day and it's my short run, and it's my recovery day, and they have their plan, which is fantastic. But I think that in yoga, we believe that, every day is different and our bodies are different every day, and one side's different from the other. And so to learn that and embrace it and use your body as your ultimate tool and your breath, and to say, this is what I need for my goals today, is the perfect way to approach it, I think.
And if you are a new yoga practitioner, are there any poses that you should approach with caution, especially if you have any specific injuries or weaknesses?
Yeah, I think just kind of 2 rules of thumb there. The first one is yoga, while it's fitness, is very different from a gym mindset. We don't subscribe to no pain, no gain. We believe if it hurts, back off. We're looking for an area of uncomfort to explore. Like, oh, that muscle's tight. How can I explore that? Not, it hurts, I must be doing it right. So we think that, any pain, you should kind of back off and take a moment and say, what is really happening here in my body? Is this good for me? So we say uncomfort is fine, discomfort is fine, pain is not. So depending on whatever pose you're in, because some people, they're just stronger than others, and some people are more flexible than others. So I think that's the guideline there. And then the second one is, again, being able to really turn inward is, I believe, the advanced approach to yoga. Whether it's your first class or your millionth class, the advanced approach is saying, why do I want to do that pose? So sometimes, I see people that get all, I got to do handstand, and that will make me a great yogi. If I stand on my head, that will make me a great yogi. And, it's fun. The tricks are fun. Yeah, absolutely. But I think what makes you a really great yogi is when you say, what is it that I need today, and how can I honor that in my body? Maybe learning a trick is good, but also just learning, hey, I'm here to improve my race time or my run, or just to feel better when I'm running long distances. That is just as worthy as conquering any pose.
That's great advice. So you mentioned some of the classes you have at Creative Yoga. You said Sundays, there's beginner classes, which would be a good place to start.
Yeah, on Sundays we have Yoga 101, which we sort of have designed for beginners to kind of give you the basics. That's at 4:30, and then following that at 5:45 is Yoga Stretch, and that's just a really feel-good, nice stretch class. But all of our classes are open to all levels. You will see people in some of the more athletic, intense classes who are like, no, I came to lay here and meditate and enjoy the heat, and I might do a pose or two. And then you might have someone who's upside down the entire time, and that's what they needed that morning. So really, it's across the board. Everyone's welcome. Absolutely.
Well, as we wrap up, what is one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with regarding the power of combining yoga and running?
Yeah, I think that the key is that yoga helps you do what you want to do better.
Nice. And where can our listeners find more info about you and Creative Yoga?
Yeah, you can find us on our website at creative-yoga.com.
Cara, thank you very much for coming on Kentucky Running.
Thank you so much. Enjoy your run.
Thanks a lot to Cara for coming on the show and talking about the benefits yoga can have for runners. We'll put links in the show notes where you can learn more about Creative Yoga, as well as a blog post that Cara wrote for our blog last year. I'm Matt Reno from John's Run Walk Shop. Thank you so much for listening. Please help others find the show by leaving a review, subscribing, and sharing with others. And we'll talk again soon on Kentucky Running.